Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. How are you all doing? What's that big thing next to me? That's what she said. That's what it is. Okay. Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. Lots to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about Pochettino to Manchester United. And I mean, it was only a couple of days ago we were talking about Ten Hag to Manchester United. We're now talking about Pochettino to Manchester United nearly being a done deal according to French reports. Also, an interesting story about Barcelona wanting Bruno Fernandes. Now, I wouldn't worry about this immediately, but I certainly think it's worth considering in the next 12 to 18 months, and it's coming from a Barcelona outlet. Also, Anthony Martial's move to Sevilla, potentially frozen, fallen through. What does that mean for Anthony Martial? Marcus Rashford, and the next Manchester United player to come out and talk about all these rumours. And also, very interesting thing, I think some of you will really like this. A bit of a discussion about Mike Phelan and his managerial style from his own mouth, which gives a bit of an insight into the potential issues at United. And also McKenna's doing quite well at Ipswich, and some people think that that means he was a good coach at United. So we'll talk about that as well. So lots and lots to get into. Match Interview Expresses. I love this channel. I'll tell you what, we love you, the community, and I always like the Saturday night show as well. A bit like the Friday night show. Bit of a chilled out vibe, but obviously we'll get straight into it. So, Butterbean or Butterpants. Yeah, he's a legend. He's having his day. Baron says Butterpants. Barcelona destroys careers, says Tommy. Well, you could say that about Manchester United. You really could. But lots to get into tonight. And we'll start off with... I don't know really when. We'll start off with the Pochettino story. So Pochettino, next United manager. So this is coming from a couple of outlets, but mainly coming from France, which is interesting because that's where Pochettino is. He's managing PSG. And I feel we need to discuss it because we were talking about Ten Hag the other day. I think it was Henry Winter who'd said that United value Ten Hag. So this story is that Pochettino wants the United job and United want the Pochettino job, and it's expected to happen in the summer. I would file this under, not under bullshit, actually. I wouldn't file it under that. I mean, I think it's, look, go back a few weeks before Christmas. PSG were playing Man City on the Wednesday night. We really were expecting him to say he wanted to leave on the Thursday and become our manager, and then Rangnick was announced. So it felt like Pochettino, and look, categorically it gets forgotten because we've got Rangnick, but on the Monday before PSG played Man City, it was Pochettino who was putting it out there that he wanted the United job. So Pochettino wants the United job. That is no longer a leap into speculation. Pochettino does want the United job, and certainly under the Ed Woodward era, which is coming to a close on the 1st of February, Pochettino was always a manager that United wanted. So I don't think there's any truth in this. But there's two things I want to say. I think Pochettino's probably at the top of the list for the summer, but they're not going to make a decision until the summer. And secondly, I absolutely do not believe that United have done a deal with Pochettino for the summer. Basically because he's the PSG manager, they're still in the Champions League, and also that Ed Woodward's going to leave his role as a CEO. So for you to believe that United have sorted their manager out for the summer now is basically saying Ed Woodward sorted the manager out. He's leaving at the end of January. We've got 3 months before the summer with a new CEO, and then we're going to get the manager that Ed Woodward wanted. We're incompetent, but we're not that incompetent. So we won't have agreed a deal for Pochettino yet. But it is interesting because those reports are there and they're always going to be there. And he certainly is. I was thinking about this, and I don't know what you think, but if you had to, if we're, look, we do it all the time. Where are we going to finish in the league when the season starts? Well, first, second, or third, whatever, right? If only we'd known. But if I said to you now, who's going to be the manager in August at the start of the season, next season, who's your top three? Then you tell me. Poch is manager desperate for the job. His last season at Spurs reminded me of Ollie. Vulnerability in management, cannot control the dressing room, says Dan. Personally, I'd rather Ten Hag. He could be the next Pep or Klopp. I feel we've already seen what Poch is all about, says Joshua Bowwater. So lots of people are putting in their top threes here. I would say that in relation to the board, I think Pochettino will be number one. I think that possibly Ten Hag, Brendan Rodgers, 2 and 3. So I do think that the club are still looking at Pochettino, but I would say this: no decision will have been made yet, and also, oh, well, that is I really don't know what that is. I have got a strepsil in my mouth because, as you know, my throat's been a bit sore. Could have been a bit of gunk off my tonsils. But the reality is, I do think that we're going to talk about the Rashford post life. I've already said that. Don't worry. It won't be forgotten. I do think Pochettino is certainly a high considerable option for Manchester United, but nothing will have been agreed yet. And there's also the opportunity that Rangnick keeps the job, as we know. But what I would say about Pochettino, and I've said it before, is even remember when we lost to Istanbul 14 months ago, and Ollie was going to lose his job, and we spoke to Pochettino. I mean, to be honest, I wish that had happened then because it would have saved us a year. But even then, I was like, I don't know whether Pochettino is the right man for me. My issue with Pochettino is this. If we get him, I'll back him. I think he is a good coach. I don't mind his style of football. My issue with Pochettino is, and I think United do this a lot, I think we're getting him at the wrong time. Mourinho should have come in after Sir Alex, not after being sacked by Chelsea. Pochettino should have come in by being stolen from Spurs, not being sacked by Spurs. So I feel that United are just going to do what they did with Mourinho, where you go and get a manager on reputation, but not actually on peak ability. And I think that peak ability, it sounds like some sort of voyeur thing, doesn't it? I don't like that word. But yeah, I just don't think... I think Pochettino's almost yesterday's news, I suppose. I do like him, and I'm not opposed to getting him, but I actually, to be honest with you, when I think about it, and obviously I've got the hindsight of what he's done at Spurs, but Conte would have been better than Pochettino because he just won a title at Inter. He's today's news. I think Pochettino's yesterday's news. He'll probably go and win the Champions League now. But yeah, I think United are a bit... It worries me about Pochettino. It feels to me like United are obsessed with Pochettino because basically our board's not very knowledgeable and they think, oh, Pochettino's great. Everyone talks about Poch. Oh yeah, he's the new Pep. Well, he's not. And that's what worries me about that. But I wouldn't be surprised if he was our manager next season, to be honest with you. Jonathan, thank you very much for the super chat. Is yesterday's news, says Kieran. We're talking about today's news anyway, so that's the next on POCH. I want to get through quite a few things tonight. Next thing I want to talk about is I'm going to talk about that Rashford thing. There's a few things I want to talk about tonight. I want to talk about these quotes from Mike Phelan and McKenna. I want to talk about a bit about Bruno. Obviously these Rashford quotes as well, but. Just coming out in the last couple of hours, the Anthony Martial move to Sevilla, which was always the favoured move in the press by the leaks, and also Martial was happy with it. Apparently, this has gone cold, and it's gone cold because of what we always thought would. I wish we'd got Ancelotti in 2016, says Ro. I'd love to have got Ancelotti. I really would. But in relation to Anthony Martial, the problem with Sevilla is the money. He's on. I mean, talking about Spurs, I remember last summer people were saying do a swap deal for Kane and Martial. The hilarious thing about this is, well, you might not find it funny, but if United had done a swap deal with Harry Kane for Martial, and we'd given them 100 million plus Martial, which they might have gone for, considering Martial's probably worth anywhere between 30 and 50 million, they might have gone for it. The problem for Spurs with that would have been that they would have been paying Martial more wages than they were paying Harry Kane, because Anthony Martial's on more money than Harry Kane. And this is the problem that United have got. I saw a big list about this today. Even Phil Jones is on about 80 grand a week. I think Donny van der Beek's on about 100 grand a week. Lingard's on 100 grand a week. Even if you wanted to sell Eric Bailly, and I'm not saying that you would, he's not far off 100 grand a week. So we pay silly money. We pay really silly money. I think Harry Maguire's on 200 grand a week. Marcus Rashford and Martial are north of 200 grand a week. They're not worth it. They're not. They're just not worth it. And that doesn't mean they're bad players, but Harry Maguire should be on around 100 to 150 grand a week at United. Marcus Rashford and Anthony Martial should be on 150 grand a week. And yet they could be on up to 100 grand a week more. And the reason they should be on 150 grand a week, max, is because that's their level. And also, they're not the finished article. And if they don't become the finished article, like Martial hasn't, you're stuck with... I mean, I was very happy when Martial stayed at the club because I like Martial. But the wages are stupid because you trap yourself. how do you sell Anthony Martial when the reason we want it? Look, the reason we're willing to let Martial go is because he's not playing well. But the problem is, Sevilla come along and go, you know what, he's worth the risk, because he is a risk. And then United go, yeah, well, you've got to pay him 250 grand a week. Piss off, and that's the problem. We trap ourselves with stupidity. And look, worst case scenario, imagine Harry Maguire doesn't work out at United. How are you going to get rid of a centre-back that's not worked out at United who's on 200 grand a week? It's the same with Phil Jones and Eric Bailly. How do you get rid of centre-backs that haven't worked out at United who are on 100 grand a week? We are stupid with wages, but this is why the Martial to Sevilla deal will break down unless we go and do something even stupider and go, we'll pay half his wages for him to go on loan, which makes no sense. I mean, I was half tongue-in-cheek, but when I saw this on Twitter earlier, I quote tweeted it and I said, start him against Villa. He's not 42. He's like 26. If he's not going anywhere, start him against Villa. Like, and I do think that. I don't think Rashford's playing particularly well at the moment. Why not give him a run out? Cavani can't play every week. But, yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Martial. It's a difficult one. I don't know what's going to happen with Martial. He clearly wants to go. I understand why he wants to go. But who's going to pay those wages? Puts us in a difficult position. Replying to person in the morning, if all it took was trying hard and personality, I would play for United, but I can't pass or shoot for crap, says Marcellino. And it's time we stop getting baited by Rashford's PR crap. His words mean nothing when you look at how consistently bad he's been. He even attached a childhood United photo to play with your emotions, says Julian. Ooh, Julian. Well, look. The United stand is an open community within reason. We don't do abuse and agenda or anything like that. Mark McKenna has proven you wrong, thought, says Jack. I will love to come back to that in a little bit because you know how I love a good debate. But I have to talk about this. Ari says, unpopular opinion, I would sell Rashford and Maguire. Rashford's sale would offset the loss from Maguire since he comes from the academy, says Ari. Okay, right, let's talk about Marcus Rashford then. So Anthony Martial looks like that's fallen through for now. Let's talk about Marcus Rashford because I actually did a video on Rashford today on That's Football about, where it's going wrong for him and what he needs to do. He's put, maybe you watched the video, I doubt it. He's put a tweet out this afternoon. Now, I didn't notice the picture, but he's put a picture out of himself in a bib when he was about 9 in a United top. Marcus Rashford's got a fantastic PR team behind him. Why is that a problem? Like, look at the fantastic stuff he's done. You need fantastic people around you to make the impacts that he's done on a governmental level in the UK. So he has got a great team about him, and the picture there is going to play on your heartstrings, and it's a very well constructed statement. He said, I read something earlier that said I'd been quiet on here, but what can I say that will make this better other than showing you all on the pitch? Probably right. We've all been disappointed with recent performances, and we've been as disappointed with the news coverage questioning our commitment to not only the manager and the coaching staff, but the club. And I don't like that, because Marcus needs to speak for himself. And Fred did this last night. We've all been disappointed, la la la. Well, you can't all be disappointed, Marcus and Fred, because you haven't all not done something. And that's a fact. They've not all not done something. So you can't all be disappointed about the rumours because you've not all not done something. Some of you have. You have. Maybe it's not as many as 17, maybe it's not as many as 11, but some of you have. But what Rashford is saying is he's disappointed, not happy about the coverage, the question of commitment of himself or the manager and the coaching staff. He says, I've got endless respect for both and I'm looking forward to bettering my game under the staff at Manchester United, which he needs to do. I'm not sulking, I'm not unhappy, I'm disappointed in some of my recent performances, which is good. Of course I am. I'm my own biggest critic. It's been a tough start, but I'm determined to prove my worth. My dedication and my desire to be here should never be in question. I love this club. And I have got no problem with that statement. And what I'd like to do is say every single player could put that out and it would do a little bit to mend the damage of this week. So I've got no problem with that statement at all. I suppose the only thing, look, we're a community. We don't just take, I don't think in life you should take any statement and just go, that's true. Of course you have to query things. The only thing I would take from that I would not disagree with, but maybe question a bit, is my dedication and my desire to be here should never be in question. But it is in question because your performances recently just don't look right. And I don't think your performance recently is because you're a bad footballer, because they've been so bad. I think there is something wrong with you, Marcus, and I don't know what it is. It could be as simple that you're overthinking your game and getting yourself into trouble, but some of your performances recently are dreadful, like really, really bad. So that's why people are questioning your desire, because something just doesn't look right. Could be way off. And he's got every right to come out and say that, and I would applaud that, but that's why they're questioning you. I don't think any United player can put a statement out at the moment saying, apart from probably David De Gea, saying, I take issue with people questioning my desire and performance or anything like that, because, you know, as we know, that there are big questions. And let's not forget, it's fine for Marcus and Fred to say that, but the reality is Luke Shaw came out on Monday night and basically said that the desire wasn't there from a lot of his teammates. So, you know, Luke Shaw basically said it. It's not a fan theory, is it? Mark, given your FA Cup run, I think Goldbridge in, says Jack High. Yeah, if you know, you know. So yeah, that's what Marcus had to say. And we'll have to see if we get a performance on Monday, which is not just from him, it's from many other people as well. Jack, I'm just going to put you in a bit of a timeout because I've already read your comments and you've just repeated it. I never understand why people have their comment read out and then keep putting the same one in. The moderators will deal with you anyway, but if I see it, I'll put you in a timeout as well. I think a timeout's a couple of minutes, but what's the point? You've already had your readout, so why are you putting it in there again? You ruin it for somebody else who might get read out because your nonsense is there. Why do you have to start everything with "I like Marcus"? He can't pass and no football intelligence. You're always going about dropping standards, says James. Because it's my opinion, James. I'm not writing him off. You know, I did this with Shaw 2 years ago. Oh, he's crap, he's fat, this, that, and the other. I said, I don't think he is. I think there's a player there. And sometimes we all do it. We all have a player that we think's good that other people don't agree with, and sometimes we get proved right, and sometimes we get proven wrong. I think there's a good player in Rashford, so I'm not going to write him off. Simple as that. Anyway, right. So look, that's what Rashford said, and obviously very much looking forward to the game on Monday night. Just before I talk about this McKenna and Phelan thing, because I think it's quite interesting, I do just want to talk about a story that's come out from Sport about Bruno Fernandes and interest from Barcelona. Now, do not start... interesting just from Romano here, saying that Barcelona can't register Ferran Torres yet because they need to move some other players out. You know, exactly. That in itself is... exactly why Manchester United need to be very, very careful about how they deal with the next few months. Because I've said this a few times about Bruno Fernandes. I'm just trying to find the story here. But I think at the end of the day, what I would say is, I've just lost the chat. I need the chat back. So this story is coming from Sport, which is actually a Barcelona-based sports outlet, funnily enough. And they're saying that Barcelona are monitoring the situation with Bruno Fernandes. Now, Bruno Fernandes' contract talks started in the summer. They could get announced any day. They may not get announced. And I think with Bruno Fernandes, who I think is 26, I think that Arsenal bid 20 million for 19-year-old Brazilian Danilo in lead and are in the lead for Vlahovic. Well, I spoke about this morning, Zafir. It's worrying. It is worrying about how ambitious and aggressive our rivals. I hate to say the word. How Arsenal have become our rival again, I don't know. I thought we'd buried them off in 8th ages ago, but they are back being a rival, so we do need to be careful. I'm writing Rashford off, says Sean Turner. He's average at best. He's a failed striker, been stuck on the wing because he's a youth player. Let's be honest here. And Mark, I do agree with the statement that these players do need a kick. We do agree some of these players should not be at Man United. I hope Ralph gets them playing, and if you're not, you're out on the bench, says Victor. And how do you see the Rangnick era going? Because I'm worried, I won't lie. I'm worried, Charlie. I'm worried. I don't... You know what? Going back to, he's getting a few shouts-outs today, isn't he? Butterpants. But I think even if these players did put 100% effort in, I don't think some of them are true. So, Abdiaz says, rumours going round that Luke Shaw leaks you the team news. But I don't leak the team news. So, you've just wasted $2 to ask an irrelevant question. I don't leak the team news, so I've never had team news from a player. 100%. I've told you before, if I got the team news from a player, I wouldn't put it out. I don't leak team news from a player, because if I had information from a player, I'd be disgusted about the team news. So I don't leak team news from a player. If I get team news, I'll put it out there, and it's already out there from somebody anyway. So I've never had it directly from a player. Anyway, what we were talking about. So yeah, Bruno Fernandes. I've said this for a while. I'm a little bit worried about Bruno Fernandes because I think that he's not a player who is... Josh, you're completely wrong, but I won't be reading you out. I think you're completely wrong about thinking that Bruno Fernandes will stay at Manchester United indefinitely. His connection to Manchester United is because we're a big club and he wants to win things. We're not a big club and we're not winning things. Bruno Fernandes has been here 2 years now. This time next year, halfway through next season, he'll have been here 3 years. I think a year from this summer is when Bruno could leave United. From that summer, I think he could go. And I predict that if we get worse from this point and next season we're fighting for fourth again, I think he'll be gone the following summer. So summer 2023, I think Bruno will leave. Unless we actually do start to improve, which we've got 18 months to do. But if this club goes backwards from this point, I think Bruno will leave. So I don't believe he's going to Barcelona. Maybe he'll go in 18 months. But I do think Bruno's a player that you've got to start looking at and going, in 18 months, he's 27. Does he want to finish his career at United not winning? Because he didn't win the league at Sporting Lisbon. When he left, they won the league. So what does he want his career to be? Never winning anything. And again, it's not definitive, but it's got to be a big red flag warning for the board that this ain't going to stay like this. If we're in the Europa League in the summer, I think Ronaldo will leave. And if we're in the Europa League next year and we have a crap season, I think the following summer Bruno will leave. And maybe Varane will leave. I think when you look at our best players, they're not just going to stay here with these crappy players and finish 5th and 4th and 3rd and never win anything. So, look, don't believe for 1 minute that Bruno Fernandes is going anywhere for at least 18 months. But I would, as a long-term concern, start thinking... One, he's not signed the new contract yet, which means he's on shit money still. He's on about 100 grand a week, I think, which is less than half what Rashford and Martial are on. So he needs to sign the new contract, and I think he will sign the new contract, but that doesn't mean he won't leave in 18 months if we don't start performing well. Hi Mark, can you call my mates Kieran and Pratt? Loves the show from Ireland, says DJ Dunn. Well, I've just done that for you there. And do you have communication with any players, pal, says Mark? Well, I'm not going to sit here and confirm that. Never in a million years, because I'm not somebody that the whole point of having people who give you information is respecting that information. But what I will categorically say is I would never receive team news from a player, because I don't believe in it. I will put team news out there before it's officially released if somebody else has already put it out there, but it's not going to come from me and it's not going to come from a player. So that's all you need to know. I can throw the see ya Bruno party, but unfortunately won't get rid of him, says James. Imagine him trying to play tiki-taka at Barca, the pain for Barca fans. There we go. James is on a hate mood tonight, isn't it? Saturday night, James. Chill out. Even if the Glazers, the board and the manager are replaced with our current squad, we would never win the league. Half of them don't deserve to be here, says Walid. Interesting. Look, Mark, you got players that work hard to the top and continue to do so, and then you got players like we do that have become lazy and complacent, says Portuguese Power. I think that's a good point. And that's a good point, because every player, whether you like them or not, if they've made it to play for Manchester United or Everton or even Stoke, they'll have worked really hard, because in this country and probably in lots of other countries, to become a professional footballer, you've got to have worked hard, because it's very difficult to do it. But I think you're right. I think they've worked hard to get there. They've got to United, and some of them never should have got that high, and some of them have become quite lazy. It feels to me like every player that comes to this club falls into a trap of this social media FC built by the board. These players are kind of brainwashed by the club, in my opinion, Mark, says Matteo. But that's a good point as well. I do think it's a good point, because they do all become social media addicts. I don't know what Harry Maguire was like when he was at Leicester. I don't know what... Bruno Fernandes was like at Sporting Lisbon. You know, what were they like? How active on social media were they? But the club pushes it because the club want it. It's probably in their contract. What do you think about Maguire not speaking out, says AJ? I spoke about it this morning. What do I think about it? To be honest with you, would it make any difference if Harry Maguire put a tweet out tonight saying we're all hurting, you know, it's disgusting, the leaks, this, that and the other? People would call him a liar. People would say it's too late. People would say you're the snake. Like, Harry Maguire, whenever he puts anything out at the moment, even Merry Christmas, gets a load of shit. And he's getting a load of shit because he's playing not very well. So, you know, these people who are moaning that Harry Maguire's not put something out, why would he? No one's going to really believe it anyway, because he needs to sort his game out. And he probably knows that. So he's probably of the opinion that what can he say that's going to do any good? I've got to just prove myself on the pitch. And I don't think that's the bad approach. And as I said this morning as well, you're a bit of a hypocrite if you think Harry Maguire should have put something out. Maybe a captain that's playing well should do that. But loads of people don't think Harry Maguire should be the captain. I don't think he should be the captain. I don't think that's horrible to say that. I just don't think he should be the captain of Manchester United. Maybe he can be the centre-back if he sorts his game out. But if you don't think he should be the captain, why are you expecting him to behave like a captain? Surely the reason you don't want him as the captain is because you don't think he's a captain. So I just think it's a bit unfair, really, that people are saying, well, why hasn't he said anything? Because, you know, ultimately, you know, it doesn't surprise me that he's come out and said nothing, if you know what I mean. Anyway, let me just have a quick look at this. I just wanted to read this out. This was from Mike. So Mike Phelan's done an interview with the Athletic, Laurie Whitwell. This is why I always say Laurie Whitwell of the Athletic is, when he speaks, he's most of the time, you can pretty much guarantee it's come from the club. Well, you can guarantee that this has come from the club because it's come from direct quotes. So this is from Mike Phelan. I thought it'd be quite interesting for you. Also want to talk about Kieran McKenna. Ralph was called biggest fraud in Russia. Would love to hear your analysis on that. Maybe he has issues with implementing his ideas at the clubs straight. I think the only thing I read about Russia and Lokomotiv Moscow in relation to Rangnick was sour grapes, to be honest. That's the only thing I'd heard. I can't watch Maguire always going, it gets on my nerves. Illa. Phil Jones would make a better captain than Maguire, says Kev. Man United fan can. There you go. Interesting. I would disagree, Kev. I think Phil Jones needs to focus on his own feet rather than telling other people what to do. And playing for the badge, Josh Newton, I'm fed up of people getting praise for playing for the badge. Because that goes back to what we were talking about this morning. They should all be playing for the badge. Why are we singling out players for playing for the badge? You should be singling out the players who aren't playing for the badge. Playing for the badge should come as standard. You shouldn't get a pat on the back for it, because then you make it a target to achieve. Oh, if I play for the badge, I'll get praise, but if I don't play for the badge, I won't. No, you should play for the badge, full stop. Do you think the new sports is currently helping bring to light these players that are toxic if they are acting out? I don't know what that means, says Desert Hunter. And last few seasons were false. We had weakened opponents and matches without supporters and many penalties, says Masaifa. Stick with Rangnick, no hiding for chances now. Well, I think last season was a bit of a falsity. Chelsea and Liverpool nearly caught us at the end of the season, and they had dreadful seasons for different reasons. We don't just need a CDM, but also another midfielder as well. Does anyone really believe that Pogba will play again this season? I think he will play again this season, Daryl. I do. I'm disappointed that he won't be playing for a while. And Portuguese Power says, Mark, can you please send the Glazers a free subscription to your channel so that they can get the proper football feedback? And I doubt they watch Match of the Day, mate, let alone fan content. I'm kind of... Or Man United play, to be honest. I certainly don't think they watch MUTV. I'm kind of surprised at how fast some United fans are turning on the manager already, when his job is a lot more difficult than people think. That's from Red Baron. I think Rangnick got quite a lot of deserved criticism on Monday, Red Baron, because the tactics were naive and the selections were odd. But I think that the way the players have behaved in the days after that, in relation to the leaks and, you know, all the stuff that have come out, I think it's galvanised Rangnick, and I think people have gone, yeah, look, he made big mistakes against Wolves, but he's barely been there. The players aren't helping him, and you know, it's a difficult job. And that's an interesting point that Red Baron makes, really, because it leads me back to that comment from Rangnick in the press conference yesterday. So we've had two players in Rashford and Fred come out and say, we're disappointed as players about these leaks and fake stories. If they're fake stories, which they're not, then why did the manager yesterday basically confirm them? And he did. He was asked about, are the players buying into your philosophy? And he said, they're listening. At least they're listening. He didn't give them an endorsement. So it's very obvious that Rangnick's not getting from the players what he wants. And I think the players just need to start giving it. What happens to Ralph's staff when he goes upstairs in the summer? Are they going to stay for the new manager? This club is a mess, says Sean Turner. I'm going to talk about that. After Pogba's World Cup win, the club's priority should have been bringing in a world-class CDM like a Kante, says Mr. 1972. And welcome to the Members Club Caton. And Declan Rice's number one target, 75 million if we don't make the Champions League, says Victor. I don't think Declan Rice should be United's number one target, but I think you're probably right. Declan Rice, I like, but when are we going to learn that spending 70 to 80 million pounds or overspending on an English target doesn't work? Maguire 80 million didn't work. Wan-Bissaka 50 million didn't work. Sancho 74 million pounds. Has it worked? We've got to stop doing what we're the only club that does. No other club goes out spending massive money on English players because you can get better value abroad. We need to start doing that because we don't need one player. We probably need three. So we need to spend better. The great thing about the summer that we just had is that the best signings were Ronaldo and Varane. And in transfer fees, we only paid about 40 million. So Declan Rice, we've done that one. And also the new sports psychologist, in reference to my previous super chat, says Desert Hunter. I mean, that could be something to do with it, yeah? Maybe the sports psychologist is why everything's coming out. Why is Rashford tweeting to inform people he's not tweeting? Says Maxwell Palmer. Well, he can do what he wants, can't he, really? But look, let me go on to this. Previous question there from, I think it was Sean, said, what happens in the summer when Ralph Rangnick goes upstairs? Well, I think what happens in the summer when Ralph Rangnick goes upstairs is that Mike Phelan and everyone else who are still here now will continue. Now, this interview with Laurie Whitwell, these are two quotes from Mike Phelan. I've always been a believer in working on strengths, not weaknesses. People will say he's not good at this, he's not good at that, but they're not at this level because they're at this level because but they're not at the level they're at because of those things. They're at the level they're at for what they're good at. Thoughts? So basically what Mike Phelan is saying is that he believes in coach. So if he's got a player like Marcus Rashford, Mike Phelan would coach Marcus Rashford to run at players and shoot, because that's what Rashford's good at and that's why he's there. He wouldn't coach him to look for a pass, get more assists, score from headers, because he's not. I mean, look, you've got to be very careful about a comment, but that doesn't make sense to me in any walk of life. If I've got a member of staff working for me, right, and they're good at... So look, you get a new presenter on the United Stand, right, and they are good at transfer knowledge, but they're not very good at tactical knowledge. And they're coming on the Sunday night show with me and Adam and Ricky and Kevin, everyone like that. Am I just going to say, lads, we're just going to talk about transfer stuff to him, and when we're talking about tactics, we just won't talk to him or her? No, I'm going to speak to them and talk to them about tactics and say, look, you're really good at the transfer stuff and you break it down really well. Let's start talking about tactics and how you can improve on that. Mike Phelan's saying, well, from a footballing sense, if somebody's good at shooting, I'm just going to teach them to shoot. I'm not going to teach them to create. It doesn't make any bloody sense. Now, I've not read the full article, but those quotes just worry me because I've been talking about development at Manchester United for a long time. I think Mason Greenwood at 20 is very similar to what he was at 17. I think Marcus Rashford at 24 is very similar to what he was at 21. I think Scott McTominay at 25 is very similar to what he was at 22. I think Wan-Bissaka is very similar to what he was when we bought him, and so is Harry Maguire. What does that tell you? in the last 2 to 3 years, we've not developed players. I don't think anybody's developed their game. And the reason I read that quote out to you is Mike Phelan has just spoken about something that I and some of you have spoken about for quite a while. I don't think players are terrible, but I don't think they're developing. Well, when you've got one of the key people who sits in big meetings for United saying, and I'll read it you to you again, I've always been a believer in working on strengths, not weaknesses. If someone's, they are where they are because they're good at something, they're at the level they are for that. So, we're not, in Mike Phelan's words, I'm going to work on what they're good at because that's why they're a footballer. I'm not too bothered, I don't, and that would explain to me if that's running through the club, and that's a big leap. But is that why Mason Greenwood's the same player he was at 17 and he's not developing his game, or McTominay's developing his game, or Wan-Bissaka's developing his game? I mean, Wan-Bissaka's been here 2 years and he's still crossing the ball the same way. We should be working. We're Manchester United. Surely the aim is to build a complete player. Like, that's why people come to Manchester United. I'm good at taking people on, but my final ball's not that good. We'll work on your final ball. That's short. I don't understand that mentality. Hi Mark, maybe a silly question, but how come big salaries are a problem when we try to move players? Do both parties have to agree with moves and players simply won't accept smaller salary? Well, Philip, if I'm a Man United player and I'm 26 and I'm being sold and I've got 2 years left on my contract at 250 grand a week, and Sevilla want to give me 100 grand a week, I'm not going to. Why would I take a 50% pay cut when I've got that guaranteed for the next 2 years? If Martial's salary is an issue, why on earth are we trying to send him out on loan and not just sell him? Says Rory Saunders. Good evening, says Elliot, who's been a member for 6 months. Jesse Lingard is still so similar to what he was as a youngster. We forget he's 28, says Julian. Hi Mark, confused by the Phelan comments. So if a player is right-footed, Phelan tells them to keep using the right foot. Well, look, I would hope there's more to that statement. I mean, I've only seen it on Twitter. But it is a direct quote, Amit, and it doesn't really give you much room for interpretation, does it? I'd rather focus on what they're good at than what they're bad at. Well, Manchester United, surely the aim is to make them good at everything as much as you can. What's your thoughts on playing Fernandes and Pogba in the Fred and McTominay position? Defensively, I think we'd struggle, CM. Do you ever get pissed when you forget to react to a score? Love the videos, and says Luke Darren. And welcome to the United Stand Members Club, Deddy or Didi or whatever. Thank you. I think that comment's really bad for any coach of any football club. I think it's really bad, and he might want to address that in a future interview because it just doesn't come across very well at all. And the only reason it pricked my ears up to bring into the show tonight, and look, we've not headlined it, we're talking with the hardcore a little bit later in the show, but the only reason I wanted to discuss it is because I think, and the Lingard point's a good point as well, I can't think of we've got a massive squad. Who's developed? You should be able to tell me, if you look at Man City's squad or Liverpool's squad, you could probably give me at least 10 players that have... Look, Liverpool, Van Dijk has got better. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, Jordan Henderson, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Firmino. I mean, basically, most of Liverpool's team has improved under Klopp. Visibly improved from Klopp. Mane at Southampton is not the same as Mane at Liverpool. There's your example. That's what should happen when you go to a big club. They step up and you improve. Tell me at United what players in the last 3 years have improved. I don't even think Bruno Fernandes has improved. I think he's the same player he was at Sporting Lisbon. We don't develop players, bottom line. I don't think this actually gets discussed enough because I don't think people want to acknowledge it. I don't think the mainstream media want to acknowledge it. I don't think the ex-players on TV want to acknowledge it. The club's not going to acknowledge it. Maybe if I was a player, I'd want it to be acknowledged. They're under fire at the moment. The players are under fire massively. They've got a bad effort, bad desire, bad intensity, bad attitude. But in defence of the players, this is one area they should be clinging on to. Because I agree. I think if you come to United, you don't get developed. And please do evidence me somebody who's developed. And if you say Luke Shaw, I'm going to call you a liar. Because I like Luke Shaw. But Luke Shaw, before his leg break, was pretty much showing the form of what he did last year. So I don't think we've developed Luke Shaw. I think a combination of things have got him back to his best. So I don't think anybody's developed at Manchester United in the last 2 or 3 years. In my opinion, Poch to United, Zidane, Mbappe to Real Madrid, Ronaldo to PSG. Love you, Mark. Hope you and your family have a great weekend, says Christian. Thank you very much. And what would have happened to Ronaldo's career if he'd had all these coaches when he first joined the club? It's scary, says Phil. Yeah, well, I'm just looking at the chat here to see if anybody... Well, De Gea's not developed, because De Gea 5 years ago was world class. Hi, Mark. Why is it that your reactions to goals in the early days are much less rage with now, with thousands of people watching you? Luke, you've done you've done two now, and you asked this question. Somebody in the chat will know. This got asked. We're not talking about it, Luke, because it got answered before. We're not UK Gold, and as I said to you before, my reactions 2 years ago probably aren't as rageful anymore, because 2 years ago I said this morning, I think the fan base has become accepting of what's going on. The Glazers took are taking £11 million out of the club. I think United are in the worst position they've been in years. Why are we not protesting then? Answer me that. I just think the fans have become demoralised by the way the club is being run, and I don't think the fans are going to turn their back on the club. But here's an example for you, Luke. Shove this up your arse, right? If we lose against Villa on Monday night, do you expect me to be pulling my hair out and calling people a prat and having a go at the colour of their boots? I won't, because I wouldn't be surprised if we did lose. But when we lose to Derby County in a penalty shootout, that was a shock. I don't think we're shocked by losing anymore, Luke. And that's probably why the rages and everything are not as much as they used to be. And it's very, very sad, but you've had this answer before. I don't know why you keep asking it. About Phelan's comments, if that was the case, then Ronaldo would still be doing over 20 step-overs instead of the top striker who became overcome the weakness. Exactly, Marcellino. What a great point that is. Absolutely brilliant. You've got to develop players. And I don't think, and still nobody's given me a player in the chat in the last 2 or 3 years that's developed. Out of a whole squad, we can't think of one player that's developed. I'd be tempted to say Mason Greenwood, but I think what's happened with Mason Greenwood is I don't think he's developed. I think he's very similar to what he was in the youth team. He's just become a first team player. I don't think his game has developed. So that should be a headline being picked up by better brains than me who can put words together in a paper, credible. There are no players being developed at Manchester United compared to the Liverpools. And it's a great story, because go through all the players that have gone to Liverpool and they've all developed and gone up levels. Go through the players that have come to United or come through the youth setup, and I don't think they are going up levels. I think they are similar to what they were 3 years ago. And you've then got Phelan going, well, I don't believe in focusing on weakness as I focus on strength. So maybe that explains why we don't develop players, because we just focus on what they were good at in the first place. Until the club stops living in the past and talking about his United DNA bullshit, we won't move forward. You can appreciate the past but don't live in it, says Nate H. I've got to answer this question as well. I haven't forgotten it. I'm more than happy to discuss it as well. Well, Dean Henderson's developed, but he developed at Sheffield United, you prats. Delo's improved at AC Milan. So there endeth the lesson. Like, you've named 2 players that probably have arguably improved, but they haven't. Where's Dean Henderson's development at United? He doesn't fucking play. Where's Delo's development at United? He doesn't play. Their development is at Sheffield United and AC Milan. Bruno's current form is a result of the quality around him, says Portuguese Power. Someone said Fred. Yeah, it's Saturday night. They might be pissed. I tell you the one person who's developed the most at Manchester United in the last 3 years, Darren Fletcher. He comes in from Stoke to earn his badges. He's now technical director within a year. That's fast track development. Is it fair to say Poch developed Son, Kane and Dele? Hopefully if he comes, the same will happen with our players. Look, Pochettino is not worse than Ollie. He's a good coach. All I'm saying is, I just worry he's yesterday's news. and he's not today's news. But yeah, his development is good, Julian. I wouldn't disagree with that. There's good parts to Pochettino. We hire coaches with completely different philosophies because we don't have football vision at the top, and buy English players because Brexit, and it's good for branding, says Ash. And opinions on our crap. What was that? Opinions on our crap set plays and lack of goals. Wow, James, we brought in this Ramsey guy to. We may as well have brought Ramsey Bolton in from bloody Game of Thrones. I mean, at least he could use his dogs in the midfield, run around a bit. But the reality is, we brought this Ramsey guy in, and he's a set piece specialist. I don't think we've scored a goal from a set piece, have we? I don't know. I don't know. We've spoken about Rashford's tweet already. No, what I want to talk about is McKenna, because I don't dodge topics that are going to be maybe a little bit, heated. I don't think the players understand 4-2-2-2 under Ralph and the intensity requires to play the system, says Marek. And Mark, calm down, putting it on for the camera. Also, sure. Yeah, I'm not reading that out because it's we don't read that sort of shit on this channel. So, yeah, keep your super chats coming in because we will just delete them and you can have your money back. And I think some people are thinking that if they do a super chat, they'll get read out even when they're being a complete twat. Like, I'm not going to read out you calling one of our players fat. So, swivel on it. The only developments I've seen from players at United are their social media accounts and their egos, says Marcellino. Good one. So, no, I wanted to talk about this because I actually, like most of you, I do keep an eye on social media. And I saw a few people. Ipswich won 3-0 today away from home. And Kieran McKenna's gone and taken over Ipswich. You know where I'm going with this. Take a deep breath. So there was a few people on social media today going, Ipswich win again. It's almost like McKenna. It wasn't McKenna's fault and he's a good coach. And I went, oh my God. Oh my God. This is modern football in relation to a minority who speak loudly and expose themselves as idiots. What context has Kieran McKenna winning a game with Ipswich in the Championship got to do with him being a good coach at Manchester United? Like, do you not engage your brain before you start typing? Just because he's managing Ipswich and winning a game of football doesn't mean he shouldn't have been got rid of at United. He was one of the main Look, Ollie and Phelan, well, certainly Ollie didn't coach the team. By the sounds of it, Phelan apparently does, but I didn't think he did. But Ollie didn't coach the team. The main two coaches at United, when we were getting stuffed by Liverpool and getting stuffed by by Watford and Leicester and Man City, was Kieran McKenna and Scott McKenna and Michael Carrick. I don't know what else to say. So he's beaten a team as an Ipswich manager, and that means that means he's a good coach and was a good coach at United. He coached us when we were getting smacked up out all over the place. I know for a fact some of the players didn't think he was up to the job. I wish him all the best at Ipswich. Maybe he's found his level. And you can this is the simplest way for you to get your head around this. Dan James was not good enough for Manchester United. Dan James gets sold to Ipswich and scores a hat-trick against Doncaster Rovers. Oh, we shouldn't have sold him then. Do I need to say anything else? Maybe McKenna's found his level. And maybe, because he's still in his 30s, he does well with Ipswich, and in the next 5 years he gets a job at Brighton and Everton and works his way up. But he's absolutely was not ready for the Manchester United job. Never in a million years. And as Devils58 said, McKenna was awful and now he's found his level. And I think everybody should wish him the best because it's football. It's football. You can say somebody wasn't good enough. It doesn't mean I want to see you on the streets. You're an arsehole. I really hope nothing would make me happier than Kieran McKenna getting Ipswich promoted and doing really, really well. But what league are Ipswich in, by the way? Are they even in the Championship? I don't even know. I don't think they are. I think I'm going to sit these idiots down even more. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure. Tickly cough time. They're not even in the bloody championship. They beat Gillingham. Oh, get in the bin. Get in the bloody bin. There were genuine idiots on Twitter today saying clearly McKenna's a good coach. He's just won a game with a team that's not even in the bloody championship. My Christ. Bloody, I apologise to intelligent people. I've just wasted 5 minutes talking about something that never should have got air. Bloody Kieran McKenna's winning games and it's not even in the championship and we should have kept him here. God, maybe we should go and buy the Ipswich midfield. In fact, actually, that's a good idea. It'd probably be better than our midfield, but come on. I mean, he's not completely useless. He had a good reputation when he came to United, but he just wasn't up to the job. We're a Premier League team that wants to be in the top 4. He's now managing a team that's not even in the Championship. Maybe he's found his level and he can work his way up again. Maybe he needs more experience at the bottom level. maybe, and I think this is probably the truth, he was way too young to be coaching players of that standard at that level. And maybe he needed to go down to a lower level to learn the ropes. And that's what it looks like he's going to do. I've got a really tickly throat now. Do you think we have crap scouts or the club doesn't listen to them, says Ash? Well, I can end that straight away. I think we've got very good scouts. In fact, I know we've got good scouts. But I think that they probably haven't been listened to. There's numerous stories from ex-scouts of United over the last 8 years. And they'll tell you players. I mean, this Alphonso Davies was one. He was recommended. There's a couple of others, well, really good players that the club didn't decide to go for. But look, Arsenal could have got Ronaldo before we got him. So I've had a COVID test, Ivaz. I've had it. We had a nasty cough going around our family at Christmas, and it's not COVID. So thanks for your concern. Although some of you probably wish it is that. I don't look. I actually don't hate anybody. I laugh at people on Twitter who seem to think I've got it in for Darren Fletcher. I just don't know why he's there. I don't. For me, Darren Fletcher's another Carrick and McKenna. It's another let's give somebody with. I mean, look, you know, I'd love to be wrong on this, but I bet most of you will probably agree with me for once. Kieran McKenna is a great example. I think when he became a first team coach at United, he was about 36. He's got no experience, and you're throwing him into training one of the biggest clubs in the world. The noise coming out of the dressing room is that some of the players just didn't think he was up to it. He's gone down to Ipswich, literally and league-wise, and he's only been there 5 minutes, but it looks like he's doing a good job. He's going to be coaching players who are nowhere near as good as what he did at Man United, and he can also walk into that dressing room and say, a month ago I was coaching Cristiano Ronaldo. He's going to get respect, he's got experience, and he's managing at the right level. And I hope he does really well, and I wish him all the best. But at Man United, he was out of his depth. And now he's gone to a level where he's above, he can demand respect and he can start to rebuild his career in the right way at a very young age. And that's why when I look at Darren Fletcher, I go, he's got no experience, he's young, and he's got a massively, massively influential role at United. It might work, but it's a risk. And United seem to want to taking these risks. They want to take risks on young coaches because they've got DNA. They want to take a risk on not buying in January when our rivals are looking to buy and hope we get top 4. And then they want to take a risk that we will get top 4 and Ronaldo won't leave in the summer and other players won't leave. We just seem to be a risk-taking club. I wish we were risk-taking on the pitch. Stop the team bus and every player should explain to every supporter they're moaning it can't continue like this, is JK. I was once told that a coach can get you to the game, but what you do off the field is what keeps you on the field. Talent alone is not enough, says Portuguese Power. Mark, calm down, it's Saturday night. Okay, Derek, let's have a look. No, I'm not reading that either. And do you think we have... I've done that one as well. Again, let me just remove that. A super chat is not a free-for-all. There's still community guidelines, and you can't just be rude to people. Thoughts on Mancini? Apparently it's a load of bollocks, Dan, and I very much doubt Mancini would come to Manchester United. Nathan, I'm absolutely fine. I don't know why people think I'm. I don't know why people think I'm in a stressed mood. I've got a sore throat. I'm absolutely fine. I absolutely love it when we get into debate. But I think some people just can't deal with it. I think you're on the wrong channel. You need to go on Radio 4, BBC Radio 4. Listen to some classic FM. Rangnick and Poch, both from the same club. Not Rangnick was with Chris Armas on the training, not Fletcher. And do I like Little Mix? No comment. And yeah, look, I do feel a little bit weird that we're not playing till Monday night, but in a way I think it'll be quite nice because I don't like the FA Cup. I saw at Malikins on Twitter before, and I really agree with this, and I don't know what the younger generation who are watching the show think, because I you know, we're coming towards the back end of the show now, so let's just have a little bit of an interesting point about the FA Cup. The FA Cup when I was growing up, well, let me tell you the tweet first. So at Malikins on Twitter was basically saying, Phil Brown, who's probably around my age, was saying that no matter how much he tries to, he just can't get into the FA Cup. It's just not interesting, but used to love it as a kid. And I do agree with that. I do agree with that. I saw that Newcastle lost to Cambridge today, and I was like, that would have been a massive result when I was a kid, but the FA Cup's lost its romance. But from a United point of view, as much as I didn't like getting Villa when everyone else is getting easy teams, actually it's a great draw for us. Imagine if we'd lost to Wolves and then we were playing Gillingham at home. You're not going to learn anything. Villa are going to come and, like I said in the preview this afternoon, it's not really about the FA Cup on Monday night. It is, because it's in the FA Cup, but it's actually Villa are going to come to Old Trafford with a strong team and we need to see a response. So I'm very excited about United's game on Monday night, but not because it's the FA Cup. It's bigger than the FA Cup. Villa are going to bring a strong team. We're in a bad place. All these rumours. It's like Rangnick said, it needs to be treated like a Premier League game or a Champions League game, not like an FA Cup game. So, yeah, I'm actually not that bothered that we're playing on Monday night because I think it needs to be its own entity, not lost amongst all these other shit FA Cup games. But the FA Cup, I'd like to win it. I think it'd be very important to us, but that's only because our standards are on the floor. Normally, I don't mind winning the FA Cup, but it's low priority compared to the League or the Champions League. But where we are at the moment, the FA Cup's quite important, but it's not the tournament it was. And for you, for some of you, it may never have been that tournament. I mean, when I was growing up, I can remember every FA Cup from being 5 years of age to, you know, probably being about 15. Every FA Cup final. I remember watching Liverpool-Wimbledon, and it was like massive. I've got no care for any of them. I don't even like Liverpool. You know, Coventry-Spurs, Liverpool-Everton, 88. Obviously United and Palace. No, Liverpool-Everton was 89. 88 was Wimbledon-Liverpool. So I've got it wrong already. But no, I used to love the FA Cup, and it lost its glamour because of the FA, which is ironic. Because we won the treble in 99 and then we didn't defend the FA Cup. The FA Cup in 99 was still really glamorous. And in 2000, we had to go and play in this world tournament that was apparently going to help England get the World Cup. So the FA basically put pressure on us to go. From what I remember, we went, we played shit. I think Beckham got sent off. And while we were there in the January, we missed the FA Cup third round. So they said, you're not in the FA Cup. It was a joke. And the FA Cup never really recovered from that. That's when Wenger started playing his reserves and stuff like that. The board needs to prioritise winning over social media clout, the biggest problem at the club right now, says Aditya. And did you hear Duncan Classes on his podcast saying he was told the players aren't impressed with the new coaching staff and Reynolds' tactics? Well, Phil, we already know that. That's not breaking news from Slow Sports News there from Duncan Castles, who I think is Scottish as well. Do you wear a yellow tie, Duncan Castles, with your Slow Sports News? It's certainly not breaking news. We've known about this for a while. The players are not happy with Ralph Rangnick and his tactics because they're a bunch of lazy, thick players. Gary Neville is annoying, says Wayne Rooney's dad. I don't know whether he's done anything. Let's have a look. He's probably going on about politics, Gary. I don't think he's tweeted anything about football this week, has he? A bit about Salford. Salford. I'm just looking at his Twitter. I'm absolutely surprised. That I'm very surprised actually that Gary's not said anything this week. I'm really surprised he's not said anything actually. I'm trying to think what ex-players have said anything. I don't know. It's they've always got a lot to say about a lot of things, and then as ex-players, when you can hear that there's leaks coming out, why would you not come out and say something? But then again, they're very protective of certain players, so read into that what you think. Mark, who's better, Wenger or Guardiola all time? This ain't that's football. And you've already pissed me off before, Derek, so I'm not answering that. Evra spoke out, but he's not really part of that brigade. Evra speaks out and defends Martial and Pogba. Obviously, some of them don't. No, I would like to see Gary come out and speak. I'd like to see Roy Keane come out and speak about it as well. Paul Scholes. I mean, maybe it's because they've not been on the telly. We had Paul Ince on the show. He went mad, didn't he? No, Wayne says he's not tweeted. He's just generally annoying. Look, anyway, I've overstayed my welcome tonight. But I enjoy the chat and the banter and the debate. And I hope you've all enjoyed the show. We'll be back in the morning. We've got the Sunday night show tomorrow as well. See who we can get on tomorrow night. But I'm sure we'll have lots to discuss as we build towards a massive game on Monday night as well. And remember, the transfer window's open. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner. And if you want to watch the video I did on Rashford, which is a debate in itself, it's a little 5-minute video, well worth listening to. Basically, the lead into that video, and go and put your comments on it. You can either go straight to That's Football or just go to the community tab on this page. I basically posed the question. People used to talk about Rashford being the next Ronaldo. They did. Is that still possible? And is it offensive to say he's actually competing with people like Harvey Barnes now? Go and have your say. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.